Tu veux-tu dire bye à tout le monde? Dis thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yes.
So I called Dad this morning because this is the day 2 of shooting this precise recipe, and I called him to talk about the issues that I've had with the recipe yesterday, and he said, so you think you're a chef and you can't make my crêpe recipe? So that was a nice little slice of humble pie for me. So cut to day 2, take 1 of making Dad's famous apple crêpe. In the world of batter cooked in a pan, there's the traditional American pancake, which is like super cakey, fluffy, single texture all the way. And then there's the traditional French crêpe, which is super thin, no color, very much just like barely set custard, fall apart amazingness. And then there is the French Canadian version of a crêpe, which is a crêpe with an edge that can be interpreted as a leavening agent, which is not very traditional, and also there is the component of you can get some color on it, you can get a crisp, you can cook it in a cast iron pan, you can have it be a little thicker. And this is what I grew up with, and this is the crêpe that I'm showing you today, Dad's famous apple crêpe. Y'all gonna have to subscribe to this channel because I need to make money to pay my father back for the rights over his recipe. So like and subscribe. Well, let's get into it. Crêpe batter. Let's do it. Very, very simple with the few exciting additions, okay? So let's start off with the dries. 2 cups of flour. I'm doing a 2 times batch today because I'm very hungry. Salt, a pinch of salt. Maybe 2 pinches of salt. 2 teaspoons baking powder, which, not very traditional, into a crêpe batter. In French Canada, that's how we roll. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and we're gonna do some nutmeg. Enough until it smells very good and it excites you. This. We're good. Onto the wet ingredients. 2 eggs. 2 cups of milk. I did it with fake milk, and it worked, so if you can't do there, you go off. 2 apples. What we're gonna do is peel these apples and then grate them on a small hole, and then we'll add them to the batter. This is gonna act as our sweetener. This is gonna act also as some moisture, a little bit of texture, and it's just gonna bring a nice edge, a nice country autumnal edge to your crêpe batter. Right on time for a nice June day in Los Angeles of 87.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Can people add applesauce if they wanted?
That's what Dad used to do, but I think it's not as good. I think applesauce, because see, check this out.
I opened a can of worms here.
Check this out, okay? Use the smallest hole, and you're grating this, and you basically have got yourself some fresh applesauce that has, it's not cooked off, so it still has this really delicious raw sweetness from the apple.
Okay.
So, I mean, sure, you can use applesauce, but I think applesauce is, who keeps applesauce on hand anyway anymore? Beautiful, that's going in. And then at this point, this has added some kind of liquid to everything. We're just gonna whisk everything together. Crêpe is one of those that you're not trying to develop any gluten, right? Because you want it to stay as tender as possible. So just whisk until there's no more lumps. Well, no more lumps. I mean, there will be some apple-like texture in there. But at the moment, kind of looks like cake batter, right? So that's why we're saving a little bit of apple juice on hand. It's depending on what your apple is like, how much juice it has in it, you may need to add some more apple juice. If you're like dying to not buy apple juice, then you could use water, it's fine. But we're gonna thin it out until it's the consistency of heavy cream. A nice, expensive heavy cream. A little bit more. Okay, this is it. Okay, this looks more like buttermilk because of the actual chunks in it. But Okay, so sure, let's just go for buttermilk until you have buttermilk consistency batter. Good. Off camera, I'm gonna cook a crêpe because you always want to do the one by yourself, learn how the pan goes, and then we'll just cook a bunch of them together, and it's gonna be great. Testers are good. So to cook them, I'm gonna put a little butter in the pan, and then we just kind of want to rub it around so that the pan is all nice and buttered. Shouldn't really turn brown, but it should be pretty warm. And to this, we're going to add 4 ounces of the batter right in the middle.
4 ounces is a ladle.
Is a ladle, yeah. And now you spread it. Because it has some texture in it, it won't spread perfectly. You'll see, it spreads pretty good. And it also doesn't have to go perfectly. You can use any kind of pan. I have uncles that use like a skillet. I use a nonstick and a cast iron. You could use just a cast iron, but you could use really any pan. And then once the crêpe is set like this, 75% of the way, it's probably good for a flip. The smell is pretty good too. Oh. This is very much the French Canadian way. So you flip your pile of crêpe upside down so that the moon side is facing you. Okay? And then you butter them generously. If you're a purist, you're only doing butter and maple, but I grew up doing butter, maple, and brown sugar. So you do brown sugar on the inside, and then that's cool too because as a kid, you learn how to use your utensils because you gotta roll every crêpe the same way, like this. Plot twist, really exciting. My father has a maple syrup farm, I guess you would call it. Is that what you call it? A maple syrup production?
Production. Maple farm.
A maple farm. That's romantic. But he doesn't send me maple syrup anymore. Ever since I live in LA. So we're kind of doing this as a Mayday call for attention because Dad.
T-Claude,
j'ai besoin de sirop d'érable de ta ferme.
we need maple syrup.
Okay, lastly, you get a nice hunk of butter. And then you get that over the top. Perhaps you get a chunk of butter, oops, on every crêpe. That seems about right. And then comes in the pride of it all, the maple syrup. Look at this. Perfect. Now this is what I call a plate of crêpe.
I think it's time to call.
It's time to call Dad. Papa? Il mouille? Ok, regarde ça. Fini les crêpes. Ben oui, ils sont belles. Pas encore, j'en ai pas encore mangé.
So good!
Ceux-là sont pas mal mieux qu'hier. Tu veux-tu dire bye à tout le monde? Dis thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yes!
Thanks for watching. Oh, I should have had Dad say like and subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, goodbye. Crêpe time.